Welcome back, YouTube. Today I'll be bringing you an investment tier list video. In this video, I'm going to be ranking a bunch of different investment opportunities and strategies, and I'm going to be basing it off of two assumptions. Now, the first assumption is going to be that this is going to be based off of the average person in the United States' ability to make a return. So we're going to be taking into account such as how much effort, knowledge, and overall experience someone would need to make money in this sector or investment opportunity. The second criteria we're going to be looking at is in order to be placed in B tier or higher, the investment has to be inflation. Other than that, those are the two things we're going to look at. So let's dive into the video and let's see where everything lands. Okay, so let's start off strong here with gold. Now, gold is an interesting investment opportunity. A lot of people like this. There's a lot of YouTube videos, Instagram videos about the importance of gold. Now, personally, I think gold's a little bit overhyped. Gold doesn't really compete with a lot of other investments. It can also be tricky for the average investor to get into. It's very volatile, and a lot of it is based off inflation. Now, the issue with it being based off inflation of the dollar and it being a hedge against the dollar is that typically you're not really going to end up getting the returns such as like the stock market or like crypto or things like that. So because of that, gold, in my opinion, it's a safe investment, but it's not a strong investment. There's several others that do better at beating inflation and getting better returns than things like gold or silver. So because of that, we're going to be putting gold in C tier. Then moving on to the next investment, we have the stock market in general. So for me, the stock market in general is something that the average person can definitely dive into. The issues with it is there is a little bit of a learning curve. Now, you can always put it into mutual funds and things like that, the S&P 500. So because of that, you don't really have to know the stock market that well. If you put it into the S&P 500, you're probably going to be okay. But there is a learning curve to it. And with that as well, with that learning curve, there's a lot of predatory, gurus out there trying to get you to buy penny stocks. So because of that, the average person can kind of get tricked, or, they might get taken advantage of with their investments. But overall, I do think it is an relatively easy investment for someone to get into. It does need a little bit of knowledge, but there's certain things you can invest in the stock market that makes it relatively simple. So overall, I'm going to put the stock market in B tier. Moving on to this tier here, this is going to be an interesting one, this investment. I have a candle representing it. Basically what this candle represents is all kind of multi-level marketing investment opportunities. Back when I was younger, I know my aunts and cousins, the big thing was to go around with these candles and sell them. The issue with this, though, is that the people selling the candles to like their family and friends weren't really making money. The people that were making money were the people selling the candles for the people to sell. So because of that, it was really hard to make actual money, and a lot of times you got sales because your friends and family felt kind of bad for you. So overall, I don't think it's an actual legitimate trading strategy. I put it in here just because there is a lot of that you'll see online. They'll be like, join my group and we're going to sell this. And little do you know, whatever they're talking about selling, you've got to buy from them and then you've got to turn around and sell it. So it's very predatory, and because of that, it's going into F tier. Now, moving on to this next investment, it is the property, home buying, rental property sector of investments. This is really tricky. And when I was making this video, I had to think a lot about this investment, because on one hand, buying a home is an extremely good thing for the average investor, right? Getting in, locking in a 30-year mortgage, getting that rate, you don't have to worry about, your rent prices going up. But at the same time, if you're getting into the home buying market as someone who wants to become, a landlord, it gets a lot more difficult because of that. there's a lot of effort that goes into being a landlord. And I know a lot of people clown on landlords and things like that, but you take a lot of responsibility. So if someone gets hurt inside the house, if someone, stops paying their rent, you've got to evict them, and that takes time. And then if you got to evict them, they could, wreck the property, and then you've got to do repairs. So there's a lot more learning than I think people think about when they first get into it. And I think the average person could get overwhelmed. I think if I was just looking at it from a home buying standpoint, I'd put it in A tier. If it was for, rental properties, I'd put it in C tier because it is very difficult. So I'm going to split it in half and put, the housing market in B tier, in the middle there. All right. So the next one coming up, the 401k. This is the one that everyone hears about, knows about. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This 401k option is S tier. Now, there's a lot of people that might get mad in the comments because I'm about to go over a Roth IRA, and they might challenge and be like, it's better. The Roth IRA is better. But in my opinion, there is no retirement program right now in the United States that is pushed as heavily, has much incentive, and has as much benefits for the average person than the 401k. So right off the bat, I know personally for all the companies I've worked at, there's always been some sort of 401k match. So if it's 3 to 4% match, you put 4% of your paycheck in, they match that. Right off the bat, for the average person, you are doubling your money. Just right off the bat. There is no investment where whatever you put in, you have the potential to double your money that same day. So because of that, that already gives it a huge advantage. On top of that, every company I've worked at has had workshops about understanding a 401k. They've got people representing, depending on who you get your 401k through. Fidelity, for example, would send reps and hold workshops and teach people how to use it. So because of that, even though it still is tied to the market, the learning curve is basically given to you. You're given a match. It's there. It's promoted. Companies are constantly talking about it. You can get time. I got time off of work, at work, right on the clock. And it could be I just worked for great companies in the past, but I could go out and they would just teach me more about my 401k and the benefits. So because of that, how easy it is, how accessible, and how much it's pushed, I think the 401k is the S tier for the average common person to build wealth. Now, going along with that, the Roth IRA, it is A tier. It is great. It is wonderful. I think it goes right along with the 401k. The issue I have with the Roth IRA and why it falls short of the 401k, it is not pushed as much. It is not talked about as much. Most people don't even really know what a Roth IRA means. It's just not as much information out there. Plus, the companies I worked for, they actually had options for me to put money into a Roth, but there was no match. The match only went to the 401k. So I put money in my 401k to get the match, and then I put money into the Roth. But I know a lot of people just stuck with the 401k because the match was there, and there's not as much education on the Roth. Now, again, there's going to be people out there that say, well, the Roth, you put in after-tax dollars, and the 401k you put in pre-tax dollars. So in the long run, there's a good likelihood that you get, really great returns with the Roth. And that's true. We could sit here and we could debate over, pre-tax versus after-tax investments. But I'm going to say you can't go wrong with either of these. I just think the 401k has a lot more support, a lot more information. And again, it's really hard to beat, that double your money. You put in 3%, they match that 3%. That's really hard to beat with the 401k. But the Roth is still great. It's an A tier. Definitely take advantage of it if you're the average person. Now, moving on to the next account, which is savings. Savings accounts are great. You definitely need to have an emergency fund. You need to save your money and you need to be protecting it. But the problem with savings accounts is you're going to lose against inflation. Inflation is around 2%. It's been a lot higher in the past couple of years. So if you went with savings, you'd be losing money, and it does not beat inflation. It is purely sitting in the bank. Every year it loses value. And it's not even as good as gold in the long term because gold will match inflation. It'll keep up with it. So because of that, I think if you're just putting money in the bank, you're losing money. I'm going to put savings in D tier. Again, I think everyone should have a savings account, definitely have emergency funds, but if you leave your money stagnant, you're going to get burned. Moving on to the next category, that is going to be crypto. So crypto, this is going to probably get a lot of discussions, and comment if you have any issues with anything I put on here. And I think some people have an issue with crypto. I don't think crypto is as good as people make it out to be, because at the end of the day, crypto's whole point is to be a different currency from the United States dollar. It's a hedge against the dollar. So really, when you're trading crypto, you're trading currencies, and currency trading is very volatile. And I know right now it's new, it's flashy, it has a lot of returns, but eventually that's going to go away. It's going to be very volatile. And I've got a news flash. If people think the United States government is going to let the United States dollar fall to crypto, they've got another thing coming for them. And if the United States dollar does crash, I don't care how much crypto you have, everyone's in for a bad time. It's just plain and simple. Do I think you can make money? Yes. There's a lot of predatory programs online. There's a lot of people, making these fake coins, taking people's money. There's so much also bad influence and bad financial, sense that gets put into crypto. And because of that, I'm going to have to put it in C tier. You can make good money, and I know there's probably somebody in the comments that'll say, I put in crypto and it beat, everything. It's better than housing, and that's great. But I think for the average person, I don't think crypto is a good investment. There's other things they need to be focusing on. Now, next thing we're looking at here, this is actually, if you can't see the picture, it's farmland. I believe that's wheat or something that they are harvesting down there. I'm putting this in because I've seen a lot of people say, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to be a farmer and I'm going to live off the land and make lots of money. And I think this is another issue of education. It is really hard to make money in farming. I mean, go ask a dairy farmer. Dairy farmers, historically, it has been ruthless for them to make money. And a lot of farmers, I have a lot of, uncles that farm out in the West, and they have day jobs. They work at banks and other places, and then they farm when they get home. It is really hard to make money sustainably, to live off of farming. Like, really hard. And I hear a lot of people saying, I'm going to go invest in land and things like that on the internet. And I don't think they understand what they're getting themselves into. I just truly don't. I don't think, you can go from being in the city to, shoveling dung and like raising cattle. There's so much. I'm not saying you can't, but there's a big learning curve that people aren't prepared for with, health of the livestock, getting them vaccinated, the logistics of, getting the feed, and then you got to find someone to buy it in a slaughterhouse. And there's all these different requirements people don't think about. So because of that, I'm putting it in D category. You can make money, and there's farmers all across the world that make money, but going from, never being a farmer, it is a big learning curve, and I don't think the average person in the United States is equipped to make that transition. And I think there's other things they need to be focusing on. All right, next we've got gambling and sports gambling. I put this in here because there's a lot of people that legitimately talk about this. I know when I was going through college and things like that, they'd be like, I'm going to go put, literally I've seen people in classes put $100 on whomever, and then they lose it all. And some people actually think that they can make money, and they make programs, and they try to sell these programs. Like, I've got this, gambling or sports gambling, algorithm, and I know we're going to make it big. It's just another fad. You're not going to make money. The house always wins. It's put in there, the best you can get at some, casinos is a 50-50. And even then, that's only in rare situations. Usually, it's well below that you're actually going to win money. The house always wins. And because of that, I can't recommend it at all as an investment opportunity, because if you're going into something where you are statistically going to lose every single time, you just don't mess with it. It's not a real investment strategy. So next is the health savings account, or an HSA. This is another top tier program, and I'm going to put this in A category. Now, the HSA kind of suffers from the Roth problem, but even more so, a lot of people don't know what a health savings account is. Some employers offer this, some don't. It's been kind of a 50-50 with places I've worked. Some of them have offered this to me, some of them have not. Some have talked about it, some haven't. It is a great opportunity. If they have it, you can put pre-tax dollars in to your health savings account. It will grow with the market. And then if you got a doctor's appointment or deductible, it'll take it out of that account and it'll pay for it. So it is a good way to build your wealth and protect your, health account. And if you have a health problem, it can cover that. Also, when you retire, you can take it out, the funds, like a normal 401k. Now, this is pre-tax dollars, so you will be taxed when you take it out, but it essentially functions like a 401k, but for your health. And so I think it's a great option. I think these three up here, the 401k, the Roth, and the health savings account, they're three big powerhouses. You can't go wrong with any of them, but it definitely gets A tier. Last thing here, I'm going to put, this is collectibles. So, you're talking anything, baseball cards, Beanie Babies. These get put out a lot. Buy this, they're going to go up. Get this baseball card, Pokemon cards, you name it. They're out there. This is just purely speculation. It's not, I wouldn't put it as gambling, so it's not getting F tier, but it's definitely going to sit solidly in D tier. I think it can be fun if you want to get into, collecting antiques, but you're not going to make crazy money, especially for the learning curve that's involved in these industries. Again, for the average person, I think you need to be sticking with, the A and S tiers, in my opinion. So overall, that's the ranking system. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any beef with it or questions, or you think something should be moved, definitely let me know in the comments. But overall, I'd say stick with your S and A tiers. Once you got those down pat, you can move on and get some real estate, move into the stock market. Once you get done with the B tier, if you want to get in gold and crypto, be my guest. And then at the end of the day, if you have all of that, you got some cash laying around, you can dip into some D tier possibilities. But overall, that's my ranking system. Thanks for watching.